I'm Catherine, 38, and just when I thought giving birth to my beautiful daughter Lily would be the most challenging part of starting a family with Marcus, my mother-in-law, Evelyn, proved me wrong. Standing in my hospital room, her voice cold as ice, she suggested I should leave my own home so she could properly raise my newborn. The audacity of this woman who had no idea that I owned the house and paid $6,500 in mortgage every month. If you're watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you're viewing from, hit that like button, and subscribe to join me on this wild family journey. My story doesn't begin with Evelyn's shocking hospital room declaration. To understand how I ended up in that situation, we need to go back to the foundation of who I am and how I met Marcus. I wasn't born into wealth or privilege. My childhood was marked by financial instability, with my single father working multiple jobs to keep a roof over our heads. Those early experiences shaped my determination to create financial security for myself. After putting myself through college with scholarships and part-time jobs, I landed an entry-level position at a real estate firm. My natural aptitude for property investment became apparent quickly, and within 10 years, I had built a modest but impressive portfolio of investment properties. By the time I met Marcus, I owned 6 rental properties across the city, had a substantial retirement fund, and was completely debt-free apart from strategic mortgages on investment properties. Financial independence wasn't just a goal for me, it was my reality and my security blanket. I met Marcus at a fundraiser for the local high school where he taught history. He was organizing the event, passionately speaking about educational opportunities for underprivileged students. His genuine care for his students and commitment to education resonated with me immediately. When our eyes met across the room, I felt a connection I'd never experienced before. Our first date was at a modest coffee shop. Marcus insisted on paying for my latte, unaware that my net worth was significantly higher than his annual teacher's salary. What drew me to him wasn't financial prospects, but his kindness, intelligence, and the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed. Marcus had grown up with just his mother, Evelyn, who raised him after his father abandoned them when Marcus was only 4. He spoke of her with such reverence. How she worked long hours as a nurse to provide for him, never missed his basketball games despite her exhausting schedule, and pushed him to excel academically. His deep respect for his mother initially seemed admirable to me. Our relationship progressed quickly. Within 6 months, we were discussing marriage and a future together. When the topic of living arrangements came up, Marcus mentioned he'd been saving for a down payment, but was still years away from being able to afford the kind of home he dreamed of providing. That's when I made a decision that seemed logical at the time. I had been looking for another investment property, and the real estate market in our area was promising. I suggested purchasing a home that we could live in together, one that would appreciate in value while serving as our family home. "I don't know if I'm comfortable with that," Marcus had said, his pride slightly wounded. "I want to contribute equally." We compromised by keeping our finances mostly separate. The house would be my investment property on paper, but Marcus would contribute what he could toward household expenses. The arrangement made sense given our income disparity, and Marcus seemed relieved not to be financially dependent on me. I found the perfect property. A beautiful 4-bedroom colonial with a spacious yard in a neighborhood with excellent schools. The mortgage was substantial at $6,500 monthly, but well within my financial capacity given my other investments. When Evelyn first visited our new home, her eyes widened as she took in the hardwood floors, gourmet kitchen, and manicured lawn. "This is quite the place," she said, her tone difficult to read. "How can a teacher afford this?" Marcus explained our arrangement vaguely, mentioning that we managed it together, without going into specifics about my financial contribution. I noticed his reluctance to clarify, but didn't press the issue in front of his mother. Our wedding was intimate, but elegant. Throughout the celebration, I caught glimpses of Evelyn watching me with assessing eyes. When she hugged me at the reception, her words carried a subtle warning. "Take care of my son. He deserves the very best." During our first year of marriage, Evelyn visited regularly, always bringing small gifts for Marcus and commenting on how I kept his home. She asked probing questions about my work schedule, raising her eyebrows when I mentioned late meetings or business trips. When Marcus and I decided to try for a baby, I hoped a grandchild would soften Evelyn's reserve toward me. Marcus was ecstatic when I showed him the positive pregnancy test, picking me up and spinning me around our kitchen. Evelyn's reaction to the news was tepid at best. "Well," she said after a prolonged silence, "I suppose I always knew I'd be a grandmother someday. I just hope you're prepared for how a baby will change your lifestyle, Catherine." The comment stung, but I brushed it aside, believing that once our baby arrived, Evelyn would embrace her role as grandmother and, by extension, fully accept me as family. Little did I know that my pregnancy would mark the beginning of a power struggle I never anticipated. My pregnancy was not the glowing, radiant experience depicted in commercials. From week 6, severe morning sickness, which should really be called all-day sickness, left me constantly nauseated and frequently running to the bathroom. By my second trimester, I was diagnosed with hyperemesis gravidarum, requiring occasional fluids and medication to manage the extreme nausea. Marcus was my rock throughout this challenging time. He learned to cook bland foods that wouldn't trigger my nausea, held my hair back during the worst moments, and attended every doctor's appointment. His excitement about becoming a father grew with each ultrasound, and he spent weekends assembling nursery furniture and reading parenting books. As my pregnancy progressed, so did Evelyn's presence in our lives. What started as weekly visits soon became twice weekly, then almost daily drop-ins. She claimed she wanted to help, but her assistance came with a side of criticism. "You're still working full-time?" she asked one evening, finding me at my home office desk. "I gave up my career advancement when I had Marcus. Some sacrifices are worth making for your child." I explained that my job allowed significant flexibility and that I planned to take 3 months of maternity leave before easing back into part-time work from home. Evelyn's lips thinned. "Well, I suppose some women aren't naturally maternal. Not everyone can put their child first." These small digs accumulated like paper cuts, individually minor but collectively painful. One afternoon, while resting on the couch due to pregnancy fatigue, I overheard Evelyn in the kitchen with Marcus. "I'm concerned about Catherine," she said in a hushed tone. "She's so focused on her career. I don't think she's really mother material, Marcus. Some women just aren't built for it." I expected my husband to defend me. Instead, he replied, "Mom, she's just having a rough pregnancy. She'll be a great mom." His weak defense hurt almost as much as Evelyn's criticism. Despite the tension, I made genuine efforts to build a relationship with my mother-in-law. I invited her to lunch dates and shopping trips for baby items. During one such outing, I thought we were having a breakthrough moment as we discussed baby names. "I've always loved the name Lily," I shared. "It was my grandmother's name." Evelyn nodded noncommittally. "It's fine, I suppose. I had hoped you might consider naming the baby after Marcus's grandmother Ruth if it's a girl. Family tradition is important." When I gently explained that honoring my family was also meaningful to me, Evelyn sighed dramatically. "I sometimes forget that your kind of people have different priorities. When you come from money, I suppose family traditions seem less important." "My kind of people?" I questioned, taken aback. "You know, successful career women," she clarified, though her tone implied something else entirely. "It must be nice to have so many options in life." The irony of her assumption about my background, having grown up with financial insecurity, stung, but I chose not to correct her. Somehow, the truth would have felt like I was seeking her approval, and I was determined to maintain my dignity. The baby shower became another battleground. I had envisioned a small, intimate gathering with close friends. Evelyn had other ideas, taking over the planning completely and inviting numerous relatives and her own friends, many of whom I'd never met. "Don't worry about a thing," she assured me. "I know exactly what a proper baby shower should be like." The event was lavish but impersonal, featuring games I found uncomfortable and traditions that meant nothing to me. When my best friend Rachel tried to incorporate some elements I'd requested, Evelyn smoothly redirected the activities. "Catherine doesn't know these traditions yet," she told the room indulgently. "She'll learn what's proper for the baby's sake." For Marcus's sake, I smiled through the entire event, accepting gifts with grace and thanking Evelyn publicly for her efforts. Privately, I felt erased from my own celebration. As my due date approached, my discomfort increased, both physically and emotionally. The baby pressed against my ribs, making sleep nearly impossible. Braxton Hicks contractions kept me on edge, and my ankles swelled to twice their normal size. Evelyn began dropping by with homemade meals, which would have been appreciated if they hadn't come with commentary. "You really should be eating more protein," she'd say, "or this much salt isn't good for the baby." My anxiety about childbirth was compounded by growing concern about Evelyn's role after the baby arrived. Would she undermine my parenting decisions? Would Marcus stand up for me if needed? As I folded tiny onesies and organized the nursery, these questions circled in my mind like restless birds, refusing to settle. I never anticipated just how prophetic these concerns would prove to be. My water broke 3 weeks before my due date. Marcus was grading papers in his study when I called out to him, a puddle forming at my feet in our kitchen. His face paled, then set with determination as he grabbed the hospital bag we'd prepared and helped me to the car. The contractions intensified rapidly during the 20-minute drive to the hospital. By the time we arrived, they were coming every 3 minutes, and I was struggling to breathe through the pain. After examining me, the doctor's expression turned serious. "The baby is in distress. Her heart rate is dropping with each contraction, and you're not dilating quickly enough. We need to perform an emergency C-section." Events blurred after that. I remember the bright lights of the operating room, the strange sensation of pressure without pain as they cut through my abdomen, and then, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard, Lily's first cry. "She's perfect," Marcus whispered, tears streaming down his face as the nurses cleaned our daughter and placed her on my chest for a brief moment before taking her to the NICU for observation due to her premature arrival. The surgery had complications. I lost more blood than expected and developed an infection that required intravenous antibiotics. What should have been a 3-day hospital stay extended to a week of fever discomfort and limited mobility. Evelyn arrived at the hospital within hours of Lily's birth, having been called by Marcus. While I was still groggy from anesthesia, she took charge of the situation, questioning nurses about Lily's condition and relaying information to family members as if she were the primary parent. When I attempted to breastfeed Lily for the first time, struggling to find a comfortable position with my incision, Evelyn hovered over us. "Some women just don't have the natural ability," she commented as Lily fussed at my breast. I had to formula feed Marcus, and he turned out just fine. "Don't stress yourself trying to do something your body clearly isn't designed for." Her words planted seeds of doubt that would bloom into a garden of insecurity over the coming weeks. By the time we brought Lily home, I was physically depleted and emotionally vulnerable. The simple act of sitting up caused pain at my incision site. Night feedings left me delirious with exhaustion. Postpartum hormones sent my emotions careening from euphoric love for my daughter to unexpected tears over trivial matters. It was in this weakened state that I agreed to Evelyn's offer to stay, just for a few days, to help us adjust. Marcus set up the guest room for his mother, expressing profound gratitude for her assistance. "I don't know what we'd do without you, Mom," he said, hugging her. "Catherine needs the support right now." Those few days stretched into weeks as Evelyn established herself as an indispensable presence. She took over nighttime feedings, insisting I needed rest to recover. She reorganized the nursery to her preferences, claiming her arrangement was more efficient. She fielded visits from friends bringing meals, often speaking about Lily and me as if I weren't in the room. "Catherine's having a hard time adjusting," I overheard her telling my neighbor. "Thank goodness, the baby has me." Gradually, I found myself sidelined in my own home. When Lily cried, Evelyn would scoop her up before I could respond. When I questioned a decision about Lily's care, Evelyn would cite her experience raising Marcus or reference outdated parenting books as her authority. "Babies need routine," she declared when I wanted to comfort Lily during a fussy period rather than letting her cry. "You'll spoil her if you pick her up every time she whimpers." I raised a wonderful son by being firm from the beginning. Marcus, caught between his wife and mother, attempted to please both of us. Mom knows what she's talking about, he'd say gently to me, then add, but Catherine is Lily's mother, Mom, in a much softer tone to Evelyn. His halfway support left me feeling increasingly isolated. My confidence as a mother eroded with each day, with each intervention from Evelyn, with each implied criticism of my maternal instincts. By the time Lily was 3 weeks old, I found myself asking Evelyn's permission to hold my own daughter. The realization struck me one afternoon as I stood in the nursery doorway, watching Evelyn rock Lily, and heard myself say, "Do you think I could take her for a while?" The absurdity of the situation hit me like a physical blow. This was my child, my home, my family. Yet somehow, I'd allowed myself to be relegated to the role of auxiliary parent. That evening, while Marcus gave Lily her bath, I approached Evelyn in the kitchen. "I appreciate all your help," I began carefully, "but I think it's time I take on more of Lily's care myself. I'm feeling much stronger now." Evelyn's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, dear. I'm just concerned that with your recovery and lack of experience, you might find it overwhelming. Newborns require constant attention. How will you manage when you go back to work?" "I'll figure it out, just like millions of other working mothers," I replied, my voice firmer than I'd intended. Her expression hardened slightly. "Well, if you think you know best. I've only raised a child successfully on my own, but what do I know compared to all those parenting books you bought?" The conversation ended there, but the battle had just begun. 6 weeks after Lily's birth, I began working part-time from my home office. My job allowed me to structure my hours around Lily's schedule, typically working during her longer nap periods and after Marcus came home from school. This arrangement seemed ideal. I could maintain my career while still being present for my daughter's early months. Evelyn, however, viewed my return to work differently. "I just don't understand modern women," she commented one morning, finding me responding to emails while Lily slept in her bassinet beside my desk. "When a baby is this young, they need their mother's full attention. Work can wait." Actually, studies show that having a fulfilled, balanced mother benefits children, I countered, trying to keep my tone light. "And I'm right here if she needs me." Evelyn made a dismissive sound. "Studies. In my day, we didn't need researchers to tell us how to be good mothers." These exchanges became routine, with Evelyn finding new ways to question my parenting choices daily. Her criticism extended beyond my work to encompass everything from how I dress Lily to the temperature of her bath water. One afternoon, I returned from a necessary doctor's appointment to find Evelyn had completely rearranged our living room furniture to make space for Lily's play mat and bouncer. "The natural light is better over here for her development," she explained when I expressed surprise at the new arrangement. I might have overlooked the furniture had it been an isolated incident. But Evelyn's territorial behavior extended to every corner of my home. She rearranged kitchen cabinets to improve efficiency. She changed the thermostat settings without discussion. She even replaced the towels in our master bathroom with ones she deemed more absorbent. The breaking point came after a particularly exhausting day of client calls and a fussy baby. I walked into my home office to find it had been dismantled, my desk pushed against the wall, my files boxed up, my computer disconnected. In their place stood a fully assembled crib, changing table, and rocking chair. "What happened to my office?" I asked Evelyn, who was folding baby clothes on the new changing table. "Marcus and I decided this room makes much more sense as a proper nursery," she replied without looking up. "The lighting is better, and it's farther from the street noise. Your little desk fit perfectly in the corner of the laundry room." I found Marcus in our bedroom, grading papers on the bed. "Did you agree to convert my office into a second nursery?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. He looked uncomfortable. "Mom thought it would be better for Lily, and you said yourself that you mostly work from your laptop these days." "That's not the point, Marcus. That's my workspace. My career pays for this house. You and your mother had no right to make that decision without me." "Don't be so dramatic, Catherine. We're just trying to do what's best for the baby." His dismissal of my feelings cut deep. Marcus had always been my partner, my equal. Now he was aligning with his mother against me, treating my perspective as secondary in our family decisions. The isolation I felt was compounded by my limited social contact during those early months with Lily. My friends tried to visit, but Evelyn often intercepted them, explaining that I was too tired for company, or that the baby needs quiet. Rachel, my closest friend, managed to meet me for coffee one afternoon when Evelyn had a dental appointment. "You look exhausted," Rachel observed, concern evident in her eyes. "It's not just the baby," I confided. "It's Evelyn. She's taken over everything, my home, my daughter. Even my husband seems to be slipping away from me." Rachel's expression grew serious. "Catherine, what you're describing sounds like more than just an overenthusiastic grandmother. She's undermining you systematically." Hearing someone else validate my feelings was both a relief and a confirmation of how bad things had become. The situation deteriorated further when I discovered Evelyn had been telling family friends that I was an absent mother who prioritized work over Lily's well-being. The accusation reached me through Marcus's cousin, who mentioned it thinking I was aware of the gossip. "Evelyn's been amazing, stepping in while you focus on your career," she said innocently during a brief visit. "She tells everyone she's practically raising Lily herself since you're so busy." The misrepresentation of my relationship with my daughter was intolerable. I spent every possible moment with Lily, arranged my work schedule around her needs, and cherished our bonding time. To have Evelyn painting me as neglectful to our social circle was beyond hurtful. It was potentially damaging to my relationship with my daughter as she grew up hearing these narratives. The final straw came when I found my expressed breast milk I had painfully pumped during work calls to ensure Lily had enough for the next day, dumped down the drain and replaced with formula. "Breast milk doesn't have enough iron," Evelyn said unapologetically when confronted. "Formula is more consistent anyway. The pediatrician at my hospital always recommended it." Dr. Lewis specifically told us that breast milk is beneficial for premature babies like Lily, I argued, my voice rising despite my efforts to remain calm. "Well, if you were around more to feed her directly, this wouldn't be an issue," Evelyn retorted. Marcus walked in on our heated exchange. "What's going on?" he asked, looking between us with concern. I explained about the discarded breast milk, expecting his support given our pediatrician's clear recommendation. Instead, he sighed heavily. "Mom's just trying to help, Catherine. She raised me and I turned out fine. Maybe we should trust her experience a little more." In that moment, I realized how completely I had lost my husband to his mother's influence. He couldn't, or wouldn't, see the pattern of behavior that was slowly erasing me from my own family. That night, after Marcus and Evelyn were asleep, I sat in the converted nursery that had once been my office, holding Lily close and crying silently. I called Rachel from my cell phone, keeping my voice to a whisper. "I don't know what to do anymore," I admitted. "I feel like I'm living in a psychological thriller where everyone thinks I'm the problem." "You need to set firm boundaries," Rachel advised. "This is your home and your child. Evelyn is a guest who has overstayed her welcome by about 7 weeks. But Marcus keeps taking her side," I whispered, stroking Lily's soft hair. "If I force the issue, I'm afraid of what it will do to our marriage." "If you don't force the issue," Rachel countered, "there might not be much of a marriage left to save." As I hung up the phone, I noticed a drawer in my former desk slightly ajar. Inside, I found my personal financial documents rifled through mortgage statements, investment reports, property deed. The invasion of privacy was stunning. Something had to change, and soon. Little did I know that the confrontation I'd been avoiding was just days away. To celebrate Lily's 1-month milestone, Marcus suggested hosting a small dinner for his extended family. I agreed, hoping that a positive family gathering might ease some of the tension in our household. The dinner would be the first time many family members would meet Lily, and despite everything, I wanted it to be special. I spent the day preparing, cooking Marcus's favorite lasagna from scratch, and setting the table with our wedding china. Evelyn hovered nearby, rearranging the table settings and adding her own touches to my carefully planned meal. "The sauce needs more oregano," she commented, sprinkling the herb liberally before I could protest. "And you've set the table incorrectly. The water glass goes here." I bit my tongue, reminding myself that the evening was about celebrating Lily, not about place settings or pasta sauce. By 7 o'clock, our dining room was filled with Marcus's relatives, his Aunt Patricia and Uncle Robert, cousins Jennifer and Thomas, and his elderly grandmother Eleanor. The conversation flowed pleasantly as everyone took turns holding Lily, commenting on her perfect fingers and the way she had Marcus's eyes. Midway through dinner, Evelyn tapped her glass with a spoon, calling for everyone's attention. I assumed she was going to propose a toast to Lily. Instead, she made an announcement that left me frozen in shock. "I wanted to share some wonderful news with the family," she began, smiling broadly. "After seeing how much Lily needs consistent care and how challenging it's been for Catherine to balance motherhood with her career demands, I've decided to move in permanently." The table fell silent. All eyes darted between Evelyn's triumphant expression and my stunned face. Marcus looked as surprised as I felt, though his discomfort seemed more about the public nature of the announcement than its content. "This way," Evelyn continued, "Lily will have the stable presence she needs during these critical early years. Marcus agrees that it's the best solution for everyone." I glanced sharply at my husband, who avoided my gaze, suddenly very interested in his lasagna. Had they discussed this without me? The betrayal stung acutely. "That's quite a commitment, Evelyn," Aunt Patricia said, breaking the awkward silence. "Have you already sold your house?" "Not yet, but I've spoken with a realtor," Evelyn replied confidently. "Some sacrifices are worth making for family. Not everyone understands that level of dedication, but as a mother, I know what's required." The pointed look she gave me made her meaning crystal clear. I was the one who didn't understand proper sacrifice for family. "Excuse me," I said quietly, rising from the table. "I think I hear Lily fussing. I'll check on her." In truth, the baby monitor showed Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib, but I needed a moment to collect myself before responding to Evelyn's bombshell. As I stood in the nursery, breathing deeply to calm my racing heart, I heard voices from the hallway. Evelyn and Marcus had stepped out of the dining room, apparently unaware that I was just around the corner in the nursery, with the door ajar. "You should have discussed this with me before announcing it to the family," Marcus was saying, his voice low but clearly agitated. "There's nothing to discuss," Evelyn replied dismissively. "You know Catherine isn't coping well with motherhood. You said yourself that you're worried about her going back to work full-time. I'm concerned about her being overwhelmed, yes, but moving you in permanently is a huge step." "Catherine might not." Evelyn cut him off. "Marcus, I'm going to be very direct with you. She doesn't belong in this family. She should leave, so we can raise Lily properly." The words hit me like a physical blow. She wanted me to leave my own home, my husband, my child. "Mom, you can't say things like that," Marcus protested, but his tone lacked conviction. "I'm only saying what we both know is true," Evelyn continued. "She's too focused on her career to be a proper mother. Lily deserves better. It's not like Catherine contributes anything but money anyway." The dismissal of my role as Lily's mother, coupled with a casual devaluation of my financial contribution to our family, ignited something fierce within me. Enough was enough. I stepped into the hallway, startling both of them. Marcus's face paled, while Evelyn's expression hardened into defiance. "Is that what you think, Evelyn? That all I contribute is money?" My voice was steady despite the anger coursing through me. "Let's go back to the dining room. I think it's time for some truth in this family." Without waiting for a response, I walked back to the table, where the relatives were picking at their dessert in uncomfortable silence. Marcus and Evelyn followed, exchanging glances I couldn't interpret. "I apologize for the interruption," I said, addressing everyone. "But since we're making announcements tonight, I have one of my own." I turned to Evelyn directly. "You seem to be under the impression that this is your home to rearrange, your grandchild to claim, and your son's marriage to direct. Let me clarify something," This house belongs to me. I purchased it as an investment property before Marcus and I married. Evelyn's face registered disbelief. That's impossible. Marcus wouldn't live in a house he doesn't own. Marcus contributes what he can to our household expenses, I explained, but the mortgage, property taxes, and insurance are my responsibility, and have been since day one. I don't believe you, Evelyn said flatly. Show me proof if that's true. The challenge was so audacious that it momentarily left me speechless. Then, without a word, I walked to the converted nursery and retrieved the property deed and recent mortgage statement from the drawer where I'd found them disturbed days earlier. Returning to the dining room, I placed the documents in front of Evelyn. The deed is in my name. And here's last month's mortgage payment, $6,500. Paid from my account, as it has been every month for the past 3 years. The silence around the table was deafening as Evelyn stared at the paperwork, her face flushing deep red. Marcus looked mortified, while the rest of the family seemed to be witnessing a car crash in slow motion, horrified but unable to look away. Now, I continued, my voice steady but firm, let me be very clear about something else. I am Lily's mother, not her part-time caregiver, not an auxiliary parent, her mother. And while I appreciate family support, what's been happening in this house isn't support. It's a systematic attempt to push me out of my own family. Evelyn stood abruptly, her chair scraping harshly against the hardwood floor. I see how it is. You think because you have money, you can control everything. Well, money doesn't make a family, Catherine. It doesn't make you a good mother. You're right about that. I agreed calmly. Money doesn't make a family. Respect does. And you've shown none for me, my home, or my role as Lily's mother. Evelyn grabbed her purse from the sideboard. Marcus, I'll be at my house when you come to your senses. With that parting shot, she stormed out, leaving a stunned silence in her wake. Marcus's Aunt Patricia cleared her throat. Perhaps we should go as well. Thank you for dinner, Catherine. Lily is beautiful. Within minutes, the house had emptied of guests, leaving Marcus and me alone with the aftermath of the confrontation. The evening had not gone as planned, but for the first time in months, I had reclaimed my voice in my own home. The real question now was whether my marriage could survive the fallout. The front door closed behind the last departing relative, leaving an oppressive silence broken only by the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Marcus stood in the dining room, his back to me, shoulders rigid with tension. Were you trying to humiliate my mother? He finally asked, turning to face me. His expression was a mixture of anger and bewilderment. Was your mother trying to humiliate me when she suggested I should leave my own home so she could raise my daughter? I countered, beginning to clear the abandoned dessert plates. She didn't mean it literally, Marcus defended weakly. She's just concerned about Lily. I set down the stack of plates with more force than intended, the china clattering loudly. Stop making excuses for her, Marcus. You heard what she said in the hallway. She wants me gone. She's been working toward that goal since the day Lily was born. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I'd seen countless times during our marriage. You're overreacting. Mom can be overbearing, but her heart is in the right place. Is it? I challenged. Is it in the right place when she dumps my breast milk? When she tells people I'm an absent mother? When she takes over every decision about our daughter without consulting me? Each example seemed to land like a physical blow. Marcus sank into a dining chair, suddenly looking exhausted. I didn't know about the breast milk, he admitted quietly. There's a lot you don't know, because you've refused to see it, I said, my anger giving way to profound sadness. For weeks, I've been disappearing in my own home, and you've been letting it happen. I moved to the living room, needing physical distance from the disastrous dinner scene. Marcus followed after a moment, sitting across from me on the sofa. We need to make a decision, I said firmly. I can't continue living like this. Either Evelyn goes or Lily and I do. The ultimatum hung between us, heavy with consequence. Marcus looked stricken. You would take my daughter away from me? I don't want to, I answered honestly. But I won't let her grow up watching her grandmother undermine and disrespect her mother. What kind of example would that set for her? We sat in tense silence for several minutes before Marcus spoke again, his voice subdued. I knew Mom was being difficult, but I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. I was so focused on trying to keep peace that I didn't see what it was costing you. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine directly for what felt like the first time in months. I'm sorry, Catherine. I should have stood up for you sooner. His apology, though welcome, felt insufficient against the backdrop of weeks of neglect and betrayal. Why didn't you? I asked, needing to understand. You've always been my partner, my equal. Then suddenly, with Lily's birth, it was like you became your mother's son first and my husband second. Marcus considered the question seriously. I think I was scared, he admitted. Becoming a father made me feel inadequate, like I didn't know what I was doing. Mom seemed so confident, so sure of everything. It was easier to defer to her than to face my own insecurities. His vulnerability cracked something open in me. I moved to sit beside him, taking his hand. I've been terrified too, I confessed, tears welling up. Every day, I worry that I'm not a good enough mother, that I'm failing Lily somehow. And having Evelyn constantly confirming those fears, treating me like I'm incompetent, it's been devastating. The dam broke then, all the emotions I'd been suppressing for weeks flooding out in heaving sobs. Marcus pulled me into his arms, his own tears dampening my hair. You are an amazing mother, he whispered fiercely. Lily is so lucky to have you. I've watched you with her. How patient you are during those middle-of-the-night feedings, how you sing to her even when you're exhausted, how your face lights up when she makes a new sound. That's real motherhood, not my mother's controlling performance of it. We talked for hours that night, more honestly than we had since before Lily's birth. I shared the full extent of Evelyn's behavior, the criticism, the undermining, the territorial marking of our home. Marcus listened without defensiveness, occasionally asking questions, but mostly absorbing the reality of what had been happening under his nose. I need to set boundaries with her, he said finally, as dawn light began filtering through the curtains. Clear, firm boundaries. And I need to enforce them consistently. We both do, I agreed. But Marcus, you need to be the one to communicate them initially. She needs to hear from her son that her behavior has been unacceptable. He nodded, reaching for his phone. I'll call her now. It's 5 a.m, I pointed out with a small smile. Good. She'll know it's important. I left Marcus to make the call privately, checking on Lily, who was miraculously still sleeping peacefully. When I returned, Marcus looked drained but resolute. She cried, he said simply. Then she got angry. Then she tried to make me feel guilty about choosing you over family. I told her you are my family now, you and Lily, and that if she wants to be part of our lives, she needs to respect that. How did she take it? Not well.
She hung up on me.
Despite the painful conversation, there was a newfound lightness between us. We'd faced the issue together and emerged united. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in months, I felt hopeful about our future as a family. Over the next few weeks, we worked to rebuild our relationship while establishing a new normal with Lily. Marcus took a more active role in parenting decisions, and I found my confidence as a mother growing stronger without Evelyn's constant criticism. We also began seeing a family therapist who specialized in in-law relationships. Dr. Winters helped us develop strategies for maintaining boundaries while still allowing Evelyn to have a relationship with her granddaughter. The key, Dr. Winters explained, is consistency. You set the rules for your family, and they apply to everyone, including grandparents. After 3 weeks of silence, Evelyn finally reached out, asking to see Lily. We agreed to a supervised visit at a neutral location, a park near our home. The meeting was tense and awkward. Evelyn was coldly polite to me, focusing all her attention on Lily and Marcus. When she suggested taking Lily for a walk alone, Marcus gently but firmly declined. We stay together as a family, he said simply. Evelyn's lips thinned in disapproval, but she didn't argue. It was a small victory, but a significant one. As we established our new boundaries, I found myself becoming more confident in my dual roles as mother and professional. I adjusted my work schedule to maximize time with Lily while still advancing my career. Marcus became a true partner in parenting, taking on night feedings and diaper changes with cheerful confidence. Most importantly, we communicated openly about our fears, insecurities, and needs. The crisis with Evelyn had nearly broken us, but in rebuilding, we created a stronger foundation than before. 6 months after the confrontation with Evelyn, our family had found a new rhythm. Lily was thriving, sitting up on her own, babbling constantly, and developing a personality that was equal parts sweet and stubborn. Her first tooth had emerged with minimal fussing, and she had recently discovered the joy of pureed sweet potatoes, wearing more than she actually consumed. My relationship with Marcus had deepened through our shared challenge. The experience had forced us to examine our communication patterns and expectations, ultimately bringing us closer. We had learned to present a united front on parenting decisions, supporting each other even when we disagreed privately. My approach to balancing work and motherhood had evolved as well. I scaled back some of my investment activities to focus on properties that required less hands-on management, creating more time for Lily while maintaining our financial stability. On days when I needed to concentrate on work, Marcus adjusted his schedule to take primary responsibility for Lily's care. Marcus had grown tremendously in his ability to stand up to his mother. What began as trembling resistance had developed into calm, consistent boundary enforcement. When Evelyn made passive-aggressive comments about my parenting, Marcus now redirected the conversation firmly. When she ignored our rules for Lily, he would end the visit early, if necessary. I never realized how much Mom controlled our relationship until I started setting boundaries, he confided one evening as we watched Lily play on her activity mat. It's like I've been seeking her approval my entire life without even knowing it. Evelyn's relationship with our family had undergone a slow, sometimes painful evolution. After several tense visits, she began to recognize that her access to Lily depended on respecting our parenting decisions and treating me with basic courtesy. The turning point came unexpectedly during Lily's 6-month pediatric checkup. Dr. Lewis praised Lily's development, noting her excellent weight gain and strong attachment to both parents. "You're doing a wonderful job," she told us, smiling warmly. "Lily is securely attached and meeting all her milestones. Whatever you're doing, keep it up." Evelyn, who had been permitted to attend the appointment as a step toward greater involvement, sat quietly in the corner of the exam room. Later, as we were preparing to leave, she approached me while Marcus was buckling Lily into her car seat. "The doctor is right," she said stiffly. "Lily is doing very well. You're a good mother, Catherine." The admission clearly cost her considerable effort, but it represented a monumental shift in our relationship. It wasn't forgiveness or friendship, but it was acknowledgement, a starting point for a healthier dynamic. As I reflected on the tumultuous journey of Lily's first months, I recognized how much I had learned about family dynamics, boundaries, and my own strength. The experience had taught me that wealth and property ownership were far less important than emotional security and mutual respect in building a family. I had also learned that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or allowing harmful patterns to continue. We maintained clear boundaries with Evelyn while gradually allowing her appropriate grandmother time with Lily. She was welcome in our home for short, scheduled visits and included in major celebrations and milestones. For Lily's first birthday, we hosted a small gathering in our backyard. The weather cooperated beautifully, providing sunshine and a gentle breeze as Lily smashed her hands into her first cake, giggling with delight at the texture and taste of the frosting. Evelyn attended, bringing an age-appropriate gift and generally respecting our parental authority throughout the celebration. When Lily became overwhelmed by the attention and began fussing, Evelyn watched silently as I comforted my daughter, making no attempt to intervene or criticize my approach. After the party, as Marcus and I cleaned frosting from Lily's hair and face, he remarked on his mother's improved behavior. "She's trying," he acknowledged. "It's not perfect, but she's making an effort. That's all we can ask, I replied, kissing Lily's clean cheek. People can change if they're motivated enough. For Evelyn, the motivation is having a relationship with Lily. My own healing journey had been complicated but rewarding. I had forgiven myself for the moments of weakness when I allowed Evelyn to dominate our household. I had released the guilt over asserting my rights as Lily's mother and the owner of our home. Most importantly, I had learned to trust my maternal instincts, recognizing that there is no single right way to be a good mother. The confrontation that had seemed catastrophic at the time had actually been the catalyst for building a healthier family dynamic. By standing up for myself, I had created space for authentic relationships based on mutual respect rather than power struggles and financial leverage. Our family unit, Marcus, Lily, and I, had emerged stronger, with a clear understanding of our priorities and boundaries. We had learned that true family bonds are built on respect, communication, and love, not obligation, control, or financial contributions. As I watched Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib that night, her tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, I felt profound gratitude for the painful lessons that had brought us to this place of stability and joy. If you've ever dealt with difficult in-laws or boundary issues in your family, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments. How did you handle it? What worked for you? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you found my story helpful. Remember, standing up for yourself doesn't make you selfish. Sometimes it's the most loving thing you can do for your family. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you strength and clarity in navigating your own family relationships.